I know I don't normally do this, but I just want to start this review off by saying, warning! Proceed this review with absolute caution! What you are about to see is often considered to be an absolute nightmare! Now, when you would first hear about this movie and look at something like the poster or the cover of the home media, you would think that this is just a cute kitty cat cartoon, that it looks simple enough, it just stars a cartoon cat, and maybe this could be fun for the little kids. Wrong! Felidae actually has an infamous reputation of being one of the most, if not the most, disturbing animated feature ever created. Like, we're talking about making Watership Down look like Bambi. In fact, if you go on the internet and you look up a list of some of the most disturbing animated features, or you look at the most horrifying cartoons that have ever been created, there's actually a very good chance that they would include Felidae on their list. In fact, I actually remember, like, I just thought about it right now, that me and That Creepy Reading, we actually did do a list ourselves of the most disturbing animated content that you would go and find. And of course, one of them actually does include Felidae. But you might be wondering though, why is it that this movie in particular actually has that kind of infamous reputation? Well, that is because Felidae is actually an R-rated murder mystery, and the kind that really takes itself seriously. This is not a feel-good movie whatsoever. This is the kind that really does not shy away in showing all the gory details of what happens to the victims. Now, the big reason why I'm describing you all this and why I'm putting this warning at the beginning of this review is because I know there are some people out there who cannot handle what I have just described. Even just by saying these things, there are people that are probably a little too squeamish and they would probably want to run away. So if you don't want to watch this review because of what I have just described, and that there may be a chance that I could show these things onto this, then I completely understand that you don't want to go and watch it and you want to run away to something else and something a lot more lighthearted. And in that regards, I completely understand. Oh, and one more thing that I want to say. Like, even though I did put up that warning, I'm still gonna go and play safe, and I will be censoring some of the more extreme parts of the movie. Like, I will still be using those scenes, but I will be censoring, like, the very graphic moments in there. Like, I know it sounds extremely weird because technically the whole movie is actually uploaded on YouTube. Yeah, I don't know how the fridge is that even possible, or how the fridge they managed to keep that up on the platform, but yeah, you can actually find the entirety of Felidae uncensored on YouTube, but considering how the YouTube systems are very inconsistent, I'm not going to be taking any chances, and I will be censoring some of the more extreme moments of the film. However, for those of you who want to be brave enough and actually want to watch an uncensored version, I will put up that option. And if you want to see the uncensored version with all the gory details that are featured and are prominently shown in my review, then I will put up an exclusive version that you can find on my Patreon. So you want to see the uncensored version? Then all you have to do is go to patreon.com/animat. And so, with all that said, does the movie live up to the hype? Is it really one of the most disturbing animated features of all time? Well, let's find out! The story.
Greetings and salutations, friends. Sit back in your seats, look hard, and listen, because I've got a story to tell, and it's not gonna be pretty.
Yeah, that's a pretty honest way of starting this. As much as you may have heard about all the shocking moments in the picture, there is a reason to why they happen. You see, the story of Felidae is a murder mystery, where a cat named Francis moved into a new neighborhood and discovers a concerning amount of felines that have been killed around his block. And now he is on the pursuit to find who is the murderer and what's their motive. I just want to go and get a few criticisms out of the way and say that I'll admit that this isn't the best detective story that I've heard. It's not that it's generic or fully predictable or anything like that, but the ending does come off as a bit weak. Once you got to know a handful of the characters, it's easy to figure out who is the killer based on their abilities and knowledge, and even the way this movie concludes feels a little too rushed. It doesn't give any updates regarding those who are alive, it doesn't explain how the neighborhood is going after all the events. It's just Francis on a rooftop going, "Well, my job is done here. Time for this pussy to get pussy. Okay, bye."
Well, I guess I'll say goodbye for now. Ciao from Bluebeard and all the smartasses in the neighborhood. And my new friend here.
I know that this could be something that could really break this story, since mysteries are more reliant than other narratives to have a strong payoff to justify the whole story that leads up to this point. However, I will say that the movie did find a way to narrowly escape that problem by making the process to solve its own mystery strong. Like I said before, there is a purpose to all those horrifying scenes. They're not just for the sake of shock value to get a rise out of the audience. As it is a more adult animated feature, it doesn't waste time for any lighthearted humor for the kids. It sets the tone to be very serious and makes the case an entire matter of life and death, showing all the signs that if Francis is not careful, he'll be slaughtered. This allows the film to become engaging by how high the intensity is, where the cat often finds himself in life-threatening situations where he has to escape or have the viewer fear of what could be the outcome of the scene. Francis, didn't you just say that those cats died when they were in heat? No, don't do it, Francis. She's gonna pop your eyes out. No, Francis, come on, don't give in to temptation. Oh, God, he's too deep in the horny. He's a freaking goner. Oh, he lives. He came out alive. And in the girl.
What an odor. Looks like you got a little action.
Another major reason to what makes this story work is how it slowly unravels the motive to all of these murders. By halfway into the film, when a clue is found that shows the first idea of what this is all about, that's when the movie becomes more disturbing than it was before. Not because of showing more graphic imagery, but because of the reason to the big mystery of the neighborhood. And the more that it reveals itself, the more terrifying that it is. Now, at this point, I'm going to go into some major spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie and don't want to know what the big mystery is, then just skip to here and you'll be fine. Okay, so now with that said, throughout the picture, you may notice that it talks a lot about genetics, science experiments, and cat breeds. That's because the killer's motive is to, in a way, evolve cats by devolving them into Felidae, the ancestor of all domestic cats that can have the ability to become the dominant species of the planet. As weird and freaky as it may sound for cats trying to take over the world, what makes this even scarier is how this all sounds familiar.
I was forced to kill Francis. I had no choice to preserve the racial purity that this new Felidae required.
Think about it. The elimination of those who are considered unworthy, the goal to take over the world, the mission to create a purified version of the species. Not only does it emulate a real-life event, but it's recreating one of the darkest moments in human history.
So now I know it all. And what I know disgusts me.
Again, the ending may be a little sloppy, but the story is still solid by delivering the right amount of intensity and a good mystery that is much darker than what you see. The animation. Speaking of what you see, one thing that is uniquely shocking to me is how good the animation is. Like, the kind of craftsmanship it has here can be fairly compared to Disney. As it is a feature all about cats, a big part that makes the visuals work is how it shows a semi-rundown neighborhood in the point of view of a cat. While the environment is all familiar with the kind of places that you imagine anyone could live in, well, except for Francis' new home, that's just a dump.
And I should have known better than to set paw in the place.
Hey, baby, isn't this beautiful? We're gonna have a ball.
Everything is much bigger where the backgrounds are already very well painted, but now they include additional detail in order to emphasize the scale. Not to mention how its use of colors also plays an important role in the realism of the picture. As it is a more somber film, there are no bright colors because the point of the animation is not to be all eye-catching. While there may be a few things that pop out more for the purpose of capturing the viewer's attention, like Francis' eyes, Everything is more subdued and cold to give out an uncomfortable feeling like we're not in a safe environment, especially when there's a killer on the loose taking down cats one by one.
What I was watching wasn't exactly a scene out of the Aristocats.
But then there are the cats themselves. With the movie being more down to earth, the animators keep the cats more anatomically correct and never going in the realms of being anthropomorphized other than their facial expressions. As for their designs, at least with the ones who are more significant to the story and whom Francis interacts with, they each make themselves look distinctly different from one another with varying body types, age, and fit their respective personalities. For their faces, however, that's where they go more in the cartoon realm in order for their emotions to be easily readable for the audience to understand what they're going through at the moment.
Yeah, I'm out of breath, and it looks as though I'm not the only one.
What bullshit you talking now? Solitaire! Oh, Solitaire! What have they done to you? What the hell has that evil done? My lovely, lovely Solitaire!
But still, that doesn't change the smoothness of their movements, and it shows how these animators in Germany did their proper research in order to believably bring a cat to life and to convincingly show that these characters are cats. And then there are those infamous shocking scenes. The times when you see the cats get mutilated or when Francis is having one of his dreams. A lot of the power in the movie comes from the animation, and that's where it shows how the intensity can get really high. Showing some intricate camera angles during the action scenes to highlight the danger the lead is in. The dream sequences really play up the disturbing nature to play with a surrealistic approach to the usual messed up moments of the film. Seriously, they can be like a cat lover's nightmare.
Why is it that the peas in this pod are as alike as peas in a pod? Hybrid plant experiment!
And even showing every detail of the damage from the dead cats, as if you can almost feel it. Also, I highly advise that you don't do like what I did and take a break of any kind during the film, because you could be a bit out of it for the moment of your pause, and you never know if you'll come back to a nasty surprise.
Felicity!
Yes. Felicity, I'm afraid.
Pascal, no, that can't be true. I just left her an hour ago.
Actually, Francis, before you go and make your little discovery, I just need to go and have a bit of a lunch break, so if you can excuse me for a second. One lunch break later. Much better. Alright, sorry for that little interruption. Anyways, what did I miss so far? What are you about to discover there, Francis? Oh my god! I'd honestly say that this animation is way better than it has any right to be. But considering the kind of movie that this is, I guess you could say that the animation here is so good, it's scary. The characters. While a lot of what gives the movie its unique identity is from the mystery and the disturbing moments from both its narrative and the animation, the characters each come with varying results. There are some distinctive personalities that stand out with their own contribution to the picture, while others are more there just for the sake of carrying the plot somewhere. This is surprisingly the case with the film's protagonist, Francis. When thinking about it after watching this picture, he's surprisingly kind of bland. At the most, he's the new guy of the block who's just discovering the dark secrets that are around his new home. Other than that, he's just meant to be the avatar where we see the movie from his perspective as he carries the picture to slowly unravel the mystery. Sure, we don't want to see him die because the deaths are a fate that no one wants to meet, but there's not a whole lot of him other than explaining to the audience what's going on.
That heredity was subject to laws of nature was established by the Jesuit priest Gregor Johann Mendel. We're being bred back to our origins.
We're paying what?
God, I must have been blind never to ask which lady the victims had been seduced by.
I cannot say the same, however, about his closest ally, Bluebeard, whom unlike Francis, goes through the feature entirely with his personality. He's the kind of guy who's seen it all and is mostly unfazed by whatever horrors that he finds. In fact, he doesn't really have a whole lot of cares about anything other than food. Maybe he has a bit of compassion for Francis, but he's too stubborn to admit it. Basically, Bluebeard is the closest in the film to act like a real cat.
Why weren't the bodies of Sasha, Deep Purple, Solitaire, and Felicity down there with the rest of them?
Because I'd think the murderer's as tired of the whole god thing as me. All I want is a hot meal beside a warm fire. What I want is codfish.
I'm hungry, I'm tired, I want cod fillets and butter or mayonnaise.
As for the others, they are interesting with what role they play in both their connection with Francis and the mystery, but how much screen time they get may vary. Some, like Pascal, who knows how to use the computer to take note of every cat in the neighborhood, and Kong, who's like the big bully that's ready to cause trouble with the aid of his lackeys, Herman and Herman, can have their moments to highlight significant parts of the secret and how the situation can get worse, while others like Felicity, the blind cat that is friendly to the protagonist, and Joker, who leads the cat cult that worships who they consider their messiah called Claudandus, are interesting characters, but they don't appear enough to make a true significance to the picture. Kind of like they're just meant to have Francis get only one step closer to what he's looking for. By the way, I want to add that considering that I watched the English dub, I also think that the voice acting is pretty mixed. There are some that are actually pretty good and help solidify the personalities like Bluebeard and Pascal, some that can go a little over the top with their performances like Kong and the Hermans, and the one doing Francis, well, let's say that he's partly why he doesn't sound like he has much of a personality.
Well, let's take a look at the lists, and we should be able to find out who exactly has disappeared without a logical explanation and when. And I wonder why the murderer's suddenly leaving victims outside the temple instead of sending them to
Yes, that's a
Yesaya.
very good point, Francis.
I'll give it that there are some enjoyable characters in the picture, but I wouldn't say that I'll remember this movie for the cats themselves. Everything you've heard about this movie is true. It is frightening. It is incredibly disturbing. And for some, it can be quite traumatizing. But you know what? At least for me, this movie is also pretty good. Felidae is a highly dark yet impressive animated feature that offers a murder mystery that doesn't shy away from the gory nature of the crimes to grab your attention. It may not be perfectly planned out with a messy and rushed ending, and some characters are kind of flat, but it is still admirably put together with beautiful animation, a strong amount of intensity to keep it consistently engaging, and a mystery whose secrets are the most disturbing parts of them all. As I've made it clear at the start, this is not a movie for everyone, and I especially do not recommend this to any cat lovers out there. However, if you think you can handle the more horrific moments, then you might be in for something surprisingly good. And it's not hard to find either. You can actually find the whole movie on YouTube for free. How they got away with uploading all that and not get flagged, I have no idea. But, you know what else is on YouTube for free? The subscribe button that you could click on so that you don't miss my crazy videos like this. And don't worry, I do talk about things that are less frightening than Felidae. Yes, it is one of the most disturbing animated films, but it is also one that I say is worth watching. Hey guys, this is Animad, and I just want to say congratulations! You made it through the review of one of the most disturbing animated features of all time. I know some of the things that we did go through, it is quite scary, and indeed it is quite disturbing, but I gotta say, even with all that, I still consider it a pretty good film. Like, debatably, even as like a German animated feature, it is much better than it has any right to be. Like, it really is very well crafted, and like the tone actually gets it just right in order to make it intensely engaging. Like, even with all the disturbing nature in it, even with all the messed up things that do happen, I still consider this a very solid and a really good movie. I mean, hey, I gotta give credit to where credit is due. But now with that done, it is now time that we shall finally move on to a Patreon request. And this time around, it is going to be from Red Bandit. So I would like to go and start off by saying that if you guys would like to be like Red Bandit and you want to go and support my work and get some amazing rewards at the same time, including but not limited to seeing my videos before anyone else and seeing them uncut and in some cases uncensored, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/animat. But at the same time, if you guys would like to suggest an animated film you would like me to review and I would put onto the animation hat, then all you have to do is write me an email at animatsreviews@gmail.com. Okay, so with all that said and done now, what is it that Red Bandit suggested me to go and review? Well, the good news is, people, is that this is actually gonna be a much more light-hearted movie. We are gonna be escaping the disturbing realms of Felidae and actually go into something that is fun, that is enjoyable. And what could be more fun and enjoyable than in the wonderful world of Disney? But not just any Disney film. What we are going to see is actually a classic, and what is often considered to be Walt Disney's swan song, or his animated swan song, if you will.
Is that all you've got to say? You god know all, you're beginning to get on my nerves, wise ass.